From Wondery, this is American Innovations, and I'm Steven Johnson. On the last episode, the Kellogg brothers discovered the secret to making flaked breakfast cereal. The masses had only just been introduced to ready-to-eat cereal created by their very own former Battle Creek Sanitarium patient, Charles Post. That spurred Will Keith Kellogg to finally break free from his brother and found the Battle Creek Toasted Cornflakes Company. Now it's 1908, and the tables are turning on the brothers' lifelong feud. As it happens, the country is in the throes of change too. John will play a role in a sinister scientific movement, laying the groundwork for unfathomable atrocities within his lifetime. Both the siblings will have lasting impacts on America as we know it today, but only one will give the name Kellogg the meaning it's remembered by. This is Episode 3, Battle of the Brand. It's August 1908, and Will Kellogg heads down Main Street in Battle Creek, a straw hat shielding his bald scalp from the summer heat. The look on his face is far from sunny. That's because the cereal tycoon is preoccupied with thoughts about his brother's latest intrusion on his business. Right now, he's too trapped in his thoughts to notice just how dramatically he and John have transformed the town of their youth. Back then, it was a small country settlement. Now it pulses with the wonders of modernity. Red and green trams rattle down the streets lined with electric lights and telephone poles. The constant influx of new arrivals fuels a construction boom and a growing downtown marketplace. Factories are everywhere. And they're not only churning out the breakfast foods Battle Creek is famous for, they're also making the ovens, boxes, conveyor belts, and other equipment cereal manufacturers depend on. And it all began with the Kellogg brothers. They put this Michigan town on the map by turning the Battle Creek Sanitarium into a world-famous health resort. They kindled local industry with their innovative, ready-to-eat breakfast cereals. But Will feels no pleasure from their shared achievements. When he thinks of John, all he feels is spite, especially today. The latest batch of acrimony began last year. Will started it when he gave his Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company a new name, the Kellogg Toasted Cornflake Company. Will knew John would object to the name and that he would try to use his position on the company's board to obstruct the change. So, Will got the board to approve the new name while John was away in Europe. By the time John got back to Battle Creek, it was too late. John brooded over his brother's sneaky move for a few months, and then began executing his retaliation. Just before New Year's Day, 1908, he resigned from the board of Will's company. He told Will he wanted to spend more time focusing on the Sanitas Nut Food Company, the food business he'd formed in 1898 as an offshoot of the sanitarium. The first thing he did was rename his food business Kellogg's Food Company of Battle Creek. The name was designed to conflate his products with his brothers, and it did. Now, wholesalers, grocers, and customers alike struggled to differentiate between the two Kellogg companies. Even the post office is getting their mail mixed up. Once John begins manufacturing rice and wheat flakes, he makes his packaging indistinguishable from his brother's cornflakes. The brothers have now both threatened the other with lawsuits. Their lawyers are poised for action, just waiting for the word. As he makes his way through downtown Battle Creek, Will considers his options. He knows an ugly court battle will hurt the company's brand, yet he cannot stomach the idea of being exploited by his brother yet again. What's more, Will is obligated to defend the interests of his investors. John is now a competitor, a threat to the livelihoods of everyone who works at Kellogg's. Will cannot sit by as sales are lost. As bad as he wants to fight and win, he figures he has to take one final shot at reconciliation to avoid a courtroom showdown. His dreadful hand-wringing is suddenly intolerable to him. Now is the time. Will changes direction. He heads north up Michigan Avenue and crosses the spandrel arched bridge that stretches over the glimmering waters of Battle Creek. He then heads west through the leafy streets and past the sprawling fenced-off grounds of the Battle Creek Sanitarium. 30 minutes later, he reaches John's large Gothic Revival home on Manchester Street. Will marches up the painted white steps to the front door of the 20-room house John calls the residence. He removes his straw hat, mops his sweaty brow, and bangs the brass door knocker. John's wife, Ella, opens the door. She's a stern woman with gray, curly hair. The moment she sees Will, her face darkens. "Oh, it's you." "Hello, Ella. Pleasure as always. Is, John here?" Ella turns her back to Will and yells, "John, Will is at the door." As they wait for John, Will and Ella eyeball each other on the doorstep in frosty silence. They no longer pretend not to hate each other. Eventually, John appears in the doorway. "What do you want?" "I want to reach an accommodation. This dispute has gone far enough." Ella snaps at Will. "Yes, it has. It's about time you stopped using John's good name to enrich yourself." Will's composure snaps. "Me? He's the one riding on my coattails. He never cared about the cereal business until he saw my success. Now he wants it for himself because he cannot stand anyone but him getting the glory." "How dare you? We both know that I am the real Kellogg. They buy your cereal because they think I'm the one selling it. Your success is a parasite on mine." Will looks down and steadies himself against the bile of his hatred. He reminds himself why he's here and forces out a reasonable tone. "John, what you're doing will ruin both our companies. If this ends up in court, it will embarrass us both." Ella sets off. "So, do what John says." John cuts across his wife. "Ella, please, let Will speak." "Thank you. Let me be clear, brother. I will go to court if I must. I just hope and pray that there's a better way to resolve this." After an hour negotiating on the doorstep, John and Will reach an agreement. John will stop selling cereals under the Kellogg name. In return, Will pay John $50,000 plus additional stock in the cornflakes business. The two brothers shake hands. But the truce lasts less than a month. A few weeks later, John has a change of heart and hostilities resume. For the next 2 years, the animosity, subterfuge, and retaliation escalates, as does the success of their cereal companies. Under Will's autocratic leadership, the Kellogg Toasted Cornflakes Company thrives. By 1910, he's selling millions of boxes of flaked breakfast cereal every year. John's enjoying more modest success with his newest product, Sterilized Bran. It's a cereal made from the fiber-rich outer layer of wheat grain, and John's promoting it as a constipation remedy. It's a powerful selling point. In 1909, John sells around 100,000 boxes of Sterilized Bran. The sales of Sterilized Bran aren't much of a threat to Will's cereal empire, but John's copycat packaging is. Unlike Will, John refuses to add salt, sugar, and other flavorings to his breakfast cereals. That worries Will. He fears that some shoppers will buy one of John's bland-tasting cereals by mistake and then never buy another product bearing the Kellogg name again. But John refuses to back down, and Will decides neither will he. In the summer of 1909, Will makes good on his threat to file suit. He accuses John of deliberately misleading the public and seeks an injunction against his cereal business. Within days, John lobs a countersuit at Will, claiming that his little brother is cashing in on his medical fame. It's fall of 1910, and the Kellogg brothers are in the Calhoun County Circuit Court in Battle Creek. Will's attorney argues that John's tactics are clear attempts to profit from his brother's hard-won success. Dr. Kellogg seeks to piggyback on the $2 million Will Kellogg spends every year promoting cornflakes. Now, the doctor's inferior-tasting products threaten the public reputation of my client's brand. Shortly after, John heads to the witness stand wearing an all-white suit. John's lawyer, Fred Chappell, asks the doctor to tell the court about his illustrious medical career. "Well, I must have treated, well, at the very least, 100,000 people at the Battle Creek Sanitarium. Millions of people seeking the best health advice have bought my books." Chappell picks up the baton. "It is clear that Dr. Kellogg is one of the world's most renowned physicians. As such, when people hear the name Kellogg, they think of him. It's his hard work that gave the brand its value, and he should profit from it. Now, Dr. Kellogg, can you explain what your brother did when he worked for you? Across the courtroom, John and Will's eyes meet briefly. John turns back to his lawyer. Will was little more than my order taker and bookkeeper. He relayed messages between me and my staff. He played a most minor role in the invention of flaked cereal while working at the sanitarium. That's why, as my patent shows, I am the sole inventor of flaked, ready-to-eat cereal. John is in his element. He spent so much of his life kicking Will around, it comes to him naturally. Sadly, Will is a man driven by greed. I have never been motivated by wealth. What guides me is my sacred oath as a benevolent and caring physician. Will never understood much about honor. Next, it's Will's turn to testify. John's lawyer, Frank Chappell, fixes a withering stare on him. What was John's contribution to inventing flaked breakfast cereal? John made some suggestions, as did I. John took the glory, of course. My brother thirsts for glory. That's why he only put his name on the patent application. But clearly, he was irrelevant to the success of flaked cereal. That's why the company has thrived without him. If he's so impervious to greed, ask him why he insists on deceiving customers into siphoning off my profits. As it becomes clear that neither brother is gaining much of an advantage in court, they both warm to the idea of a settlement, a last-minute hedge against a winner-take-all verdict. But just like that handshake deal, this signed accord won't last. And when it falls apart, there will not be another truce. This time, the brothers will see their fight through to the finish, no matter what the cost. It's August 1916, and Dr. John Harvey Kellogg paces around the offices of the law firm Chappell and Earl. His eyes burn with fury as they lock themselves on Fred Chappell. I want Will shut down. He's a vindictive little snake. He always has been. Chappell sighs. He's been John's lawyer for years. He's seen the brothers at each other's throats many times before. But he's never seen John this wound up. He tries to ease his celebrity client. John, please, take a seat. Tell me, what has Will done now? He's going after Bran. Sterilized Bran is my most successful product. He knows that, and he wants to snuff it out. He wants it all for himself. He wants to destroy me. Bran is the Kellogg brothers' newest battlefield. Since launching Sterilized Bran in 1908, it's become John's biggest seller. This year, he's expecting to ship 600,000 boxes of his high-fiber cereal. But now, Will's moving in. In the past 12 months, Will's introduced not one, but two of his own brand cereals. Kellogg's Toasted Bran Flakes and Kellogg's Flaked Bran. Aided by the power of the Kellogg name, Will's brand cereals are already eating into John's sales. And now, Will has upped the ante. He's launching a third brand cereal called Kellogg's All Bran. John is livid. 3 brand cereals. He cannot be doing this in the name of good business. It's malice, pure and simple. I want a restraining order. I want him stopped. Could you not just try and talk to him? A court case could backfire. Could I not just try and talk to him? Don't be so ridiculous. My brother hasn't listened to me in years. He hasn't been my brother in years. A week later, John files to take Will back to court. In late 1917, after another round of bitter courtroom testimonials, the brothers and their lawyers gather in a Battle Creek courtroom to hear the verdict. All rise. Everyone rises when the stooped and skeletal frame of Judge Walter North shuffles into the courtroom. The judge waves his hand dismissively as he takes his seat. Be seated. Judge North pushes his thin spectacles up his nose, briefly scans the courtroom, and then delivers his verdict. I have reached a verdict in the case of Kellogg versus Kellogg. As I see it, the value of the Kellogg's trademark was created by the promotional activities of Will Kellogg's company. Corn Flakes sells because of that, not because of the fame of Dr. Kellogg. Just as Chappell had predicted, the lawsuit had backfired. A faint smile cracks on Will's perennially downturned mouth. As such, I rule that Will Kellogg's company is the sole and exclusive owner of the Kellogg's trademark. I also rule that Dr. Kellogg has infringed on that trademark with his cereal products. As such, he must pay Will's company all the profits he has made from breakfast cereal